by watching what happened when Rush was hosting, guest hosting the Pat Sajak show back then. It's very interesting how the left, the left who claim to be the people of the of reason, tends to be the ones that are the ones that causing this yelling and screaming. Um, in a Saul Alinsky approach, that's what they do best. They attack the character instead of the person, instead of the argument. They don't know Rush Limbaugh very well. I mean, they may have heard him on the radio, but a lot of times they don't tend to listen what he has to say, much as to understand what he's coming from, and not understanding what's wrong with the left's policy. See, the idea of the left is that you have to agree with them. If you don't, then you're not more than a racist, and you're a racist, and or you're an imperialist, you're a capitalist freak or whatever. Big, all that bullshit shit they say to attack you. But it's ridiculous when you hear them say that, but that's what they do best. They want to disrupt, just pretty much just throw everything into the fire, if you will, to prevent you from disagreeing with them. That's the left. They did that in communism. Communism is the example of how far extreme the left is. Now, for this person who put this video up about Rush Limbaugh, he has to understand, he or she has to understand that, well, to understand, I'm trying to get the thought in my head. You have to understand that everyone doesn't agree with the left. It's just the way it is. Now, if you want to pinpoint the people on the right being Nazis or wanting to kill people, well, then you need to re-examine what Hitler was and read Mein Kampf a little bit better, because that Mein Kampf is basically just almost like reading Mao Zedong or Mao Zedong, whatever you call it. The Chinese, first Chinese premier of the Communist Party in China during the revolution. And see, National Socialists are what Nazis are. They were left from they're right from communism, but they were still left wingers. So as basically left wing of our idealism in America is socialism, National Socialists, which are Nazis, and then communism, which is our Marxist revolutionaries. I don't even understand why you have to have a revolution against economic status. I mean, life really isn't fair. You can't make it fair. And which is really damaging about the left is that they promise too much. But you gotta realize there's other failed left-wing states that were out there. Cuba's still there, but it's a dictatorship, and it's the left. China has really a whole lot of violations of human rights, but they're the left. But don't dare tell them that. Don't dare tell the left wingers that they're on the wrong side of things. They think we are the wrong side because we believe a little different than they do. It's just ridiculous when they start saying that. To the response of with the old clip of Rush Limbaugh, it didn't really damage him at all. He looked at it, and to understand more about television, he preferred to stay with radio because it has a little more control of who will be on the show or not, and which is private. Private ownership of his show. He can do whatever he wants on it within the guidelines of DFC, of the rules, the Federal Communications Commission. But oh no, the left claims that they have a morality, and anybody who disagrees with them, you are the devil. And in reality, the devil's on their foot, the shoe's on the other foot with them. It's ridiculous. common sense doesn't apply with the left. And you can attack the character, but you don't understand the message. And one thing I read or tried to understand in this video during when Idaho at the time was thinking about banning abortion, and the governor was thinking about it, and that the women's rights organizations coming out trying to boycott the potatoes from Idaho. Well, that's a little stupid. You don't boycott and hurt the farmers because of a governor doesn't know if you want to veto it or sign it. It doesn't work that way. You don't hurt the people just because the governor's trying to figure out if he wants to veto it or not. It's almost like the Arizona law. You don't want to boycott Arizona. What it does, it makes you look stupid. Now, they try to use the boycott because of what happened in the Civil Rights Movement. Because the Civil Rights Movement, during Rosa Parks, they boycotted the buses. But that's a little different. Because the city, or the law, was unjust. It wasn't hurting private people because the buses were still going. But it did hurt the revenue of the city. So they had to stop it. But this kind of notion of trying to boycott to get your way, it's still kind of good for some reasons. But you've got to have some intellect, some intelligence, some, let's say, brains to use it. And you can't just boycott the potatoes just to prove a point. And the governor still indeed vetoed it, and it was the greatest, thing on the left for him to do that. But I think why is too is because he was pressured and forced to switch his thinking, because the economic power took over. I mean, the left will use anything necessary to get their way, and potatoes in Idaho, in southern Idaho, are mostly their economy, as much as apples and grapes are in Washington State. You don't want to attack the economy just to prove a point, but that's what they do. And they see the economy being so unfair for those who are poor. Well, a lot of poor people who become rich are grateful that we have a free system, free economic system to get them that way. And the left has a problem. You can't give a person a fish and feed them forever. It doesn't work that way. If you give them a fish, you feed them for a day, but if you teach them to provide for themselves, they could very much live forever and be self-sufficient. But that's the problem with the left. They want to say that everyone needs to be the same. You gotta be the same. You got this utopia. Everyone needs to be completely leveled out, equal. The reality is no one is equal except in the creation when they're born. Everyone has different points of view. They're not always the same. And that's what makes us free, because we think differently. We don't always agree. And that's the problem with the left. You have to agree with them or else. And that's ridiculous. But that's the problem with their arguments. Karl Marx is dead. The guy was wrong in his views. And he was also a major racist against his own people. Get real. Get off of this dead political theology. It just never worked. It tried. No one can get it right, because everyone always keeps saying, well, it was not true communism. They distorted it.